Hi, this is the Pico method and this is video 4. This is the last video in this series and I'm Carrie Milner. I'm an Associate Professor of Nursing at the Davis and Henley College of Nursing at Sacred Heart University. So we have learned in video 1, 2, and 3 how to develop a Pico question from a clinical question that we ask throughout the day in our practice. And we've learned that there are different types of questions. They range from intervention, etiology, diagnosis, prognosis, and meaning. And we take those questions and now we go and search the evidence with them. So I'm going to give a scenario that just appeared on the screen. And we are going to walk through how to develop a Pico question using the correct template, and then go into the databases and the search terms. So, patient decision aids are tools that help people become involved in healthcare decision making by making explicit the decision that needs to be made, providing information about the options and outcomes, and by clarifying personal values. You are wondering if decision aids would improve diabetes self-management in your practice. So pause the video and take a minute to jot down your clinical question using the appropriate Pico question template. So hopefully your Pico question looks like mine. This is an intervention type Pico question. Decision aids are the intervention. The P is patients with diabetes. And we are comparing decision aids without decision aids because this practice doesn't use them. And then the outcome is self-management. And on the right of the screen, that just shows you, the Mayo Clinic has a very good decision aid about diabetes management. So now, how does the Pico question now move into how you search? So what you do is, it's always nice to create a little table and keep track of your searches. And so what I've done here is you'll see across the top, the population, the intervention, the comparison, and the outcome. So that's directly related to my Pico question. And they come directly. So the main keywords that I'm going to search with came from my question. So patients with diabetes was the population. Decision aids were the intervention. I do not have a comparison. It makes no sense to, put a search term in for that. And then I have self-management. What I want to do before I go into the literature, if I know ahead of time, is maybe come up with some synonyms for the P, the I, and the O that I have up here. So pause the video and take a minute to jot down some synonyms. And if you struggle with this, what you can do is a little trick is to search first with, let's say, the P and the I and see what you get, and then look at how the articles or the citations that you get are indexed. So some synonyms for patients with diabetes: diabetic patients and just diabetes. And then for decision aids, some synonyms are decision support, decision tool, decision support techniques. And then for self-management, it's self-care. Now, word to the wise, you are not going to search with all of these keywords because it'll be very challenging. So let's go to the next slide and start with what databases should you be searching in for evidence to support your practice. So CINAL is the cumulative index for nursing and allied health literature. So nurses use this a lot. Medline is the medical database of literature. And you'll see here I have via PubMed or Ovid. Those are the vehicles through what you can get to Medline, and they all have pretty much the same articles indexed in them. Then there's the Cochrane database of systematic reviews. Systematic reviews are pretty important in intervention type questions and diagnostic questions too, because of the nature of the studies that you need, randomized controlled trials. and systematic reviews of single randomized control trials really help us advance what interventions work and what don't. And then there's the Joanna Briggs Institute. This is an evidence-based practice database. These next three, Sacred Heart University does not have them yet, but I put them on here in case you have links to, you're from other organizations or other universities and you're watching this video and you have access to Scopus, Web of Science, or Embase, are really good databases for evidence. Now I have other on here because you may have to search other databases that are not the medical or nursing literature. For instance, you may have to go into the business literature for something. Say you're looking for return on investment on something related to electronic health records. It's possible that that might be out in the business literature. You might have to go into PsycInfo if it's something related to mental health. You may have to go into the education literature, not the nursing education literature, but the actual, education literature from that discipline to help you. So always think of, am I searching all possible databases that would give me the literature that I need? So now we're going to do a simple keyword search, and I'm going to explain or describe Boolean operators. So first start with using the main keywords from your Pico question and select the P and the I. And you want to connect with and. So I do this visual so that you can see that when I connect two keywords with and, I'm going to get less citations. So you could see where they cross over. So I do a search with patients with diabetes and decision aids. Then you can expand the search to controlled language. So controlled language merely means that the terms that you're using, you go into that database and you look up to see if they have specific terms for your main key term from your Pico question. And in CINAHL, these are called CINAHL subject headings, and in Medline, they're called MESH, M-E-S-H is subject headings. And the reason why we want to use the controlled language of the databases is that in most cases, you will access the literature that you need more readily, more efficiently, because the database is already set up and indexed that way. So combining main keywords with other terms using OR expands the search to find citations with any added terms. And so a little hint on here, OR retrieves more. So and, the Boolean operator and restricts, and OR retrieves more. So you'll see under the main keywords and synonyms, for P, I did patients with diabetes or diabetic patients or diabetes. And then for I, decision aids or decision supports or decision tools. And now would be a good time to just talk about how a lot of the databases are set up now with smart text. And so it intuitively, I'm sure you've had the experience where you go in and you start typing, let's say quality improvement, or, oh, the one that I like to do is critical care, ICU, intensive care. And so it will literally start suggesting for me and put the OR in for me, ICU, the letters, or intensive care unit, or critical care. So it's doing the same thing. And if you look on the right here, you're going to see I put my circle up again and I have OR, and then I have the AND. So it just visually shows you that OR is more, but then the AND restricts. So the other thing you can do with your search after you've determined your keywords, you've looked to see if there's controlled language for your keywords, is that you can add limits to the search. And most databases allow for limits or filters that restrict the search results by characteristics such as study type, So for intervention studies, you may only be interested in randomized controlled trials. Or article type, you may only be interested in systematic reviews. A lot of times we restrict the years. We want kind of with, new evidence within the last 5 years to base our practice on. It could be age group, like perhaps you only want adults, or you only want the elderly over 60 years of age. And then the last one is language. So this might be English language if you are not fluent in another language. And you will notice now that a lot of the databases will index and have articles in another language, and you're able to press a button to translate the abstract for you if you need, if it was something that you thought was really needed in your evidence search. So this is the end of the 4-part video series on how to use the Pico method to develop a searchable clinical question and begin to search for evidence. It is just the beginning. It's just a quick overview of, how the Pico method enhances your search so that you get and increases your ability to get evidence that is useful. However, I highly, highly recommend as if you're a novice, to consult your health science librarian in your organization to grow your knowledge and skills in this area.